In the 1960s and 70s, there was controversy in many churches. Two of the big questions were, number one, are the gifts of the Holy Spirit still operating today, or have they stopped? And number two, should we stick to the traditional style of worship, or should we introduce new expressions? The founding members of Pioneer Christian Fellowship were asked to leave their original churches because they believed that the gifts of the Holy Spirit are still operating today and that we should be free to introduce new expressions of worship. Their first meetings took place in the basement of Dennis Ortel in Arcade, New York. The new church was soon looking for a larger facility. The Yorkshire Fire Hall was used until later that same year, when the church purchased the property at 303 Route 39 West in Arcade, New York. In 1977, after remodeling the barn into a worship facility, this became the permanent location of Pioneer Christian Fellowship. Mark Verkler, a Roberts Wesleyan graduate, was the first pastor of Pioneer Christian Fellowship. With the help of several elders, he led the congregation until 1981, when it was agreed that he should move on to another ministry. Pastor Gene DeGraff pastored during this time. During this transition, PCF felt the need to come under the spiritual care of a larger organization. In 1982, after formally establishing a relationship with Elam Fellowship of Lima, New York, John Trimble was chosen to fill the pastorate. Finding a difference in vision, Pastor Trimble resigned in 1983. Unfortunately, at his departure, a few families decided to leave PCF as well, beginning a new work with Trimble, which became known as Church of the Lamb, also located in Arcade. To replace Trimble at Pioneer, Roger Miller, one of the founding elders, came on staff as the resident pastor, while the former pastor, Gene DeGraff, took on the role of preaching pastor. In the summer of 1984, John Trimble left the Church of the Lamb and was replaced by Jeff Hokanson, a native of Pennsylvania who had recently graduated from Elam Bible Institute. Early in 1986, leaders from Pioneer Christian Fellowship and the Church of the Lamb agreed that it was God's will for the two churches to become one again under the original name of Pioneer Christian Fellowship. In May of that year, a reunification service was held. For a brief period, pastors Gene DeGraff, Roger Miller, and Jeff Hokanson worked in tandem with one another. Then, in the fall of 1986, Gene DeGraff stepped down. In 1989, a new 300-seat sanctuary was built onto the barn. Pastors Hokanson and Miller continued to work together until 1993, at which time Roger Miller left to start a new work in Fillmore. In 1993, Andrew Webster, a recent Elam graduate, was called for missionary service in New Guinea to come to Pioneer Christian Fellowship and serve as an associate pastor. In 1994, Scott Laird, a native of Arcade and an Elam graduate who had been working at the church part-time since 1990, was also added to the full-time pastoral staff to serve as an associate pastor. In 1997, Pastor Hokanson moved his family into a new house he built outside of town, leaving the old church parsonage vacant. In 1999, after 2 years of renovation, this became the new location of Pioneer Christian Fellowship's church offices. In 2002, PCF celebrated its 25th anniversary. Feeling it was time to move on, Andy Webster moved to Michigan to take a job as an associate pastor of youth. In 2008, an addition was put on the barn. That same year, Joshua Whippy, an Arcade native and an Elam graduate, moved back from South Carolina and started volunteering at Pioneer Christian Fellowship. In 2009, Josh was hired as an associate pastor and an extensive remodeling of the barn began. In 2015, after a decade of planning and saving, Pioneer Christian Fellowship embarked upon the construction of a 6,000 square foot addition. Pioneer Christian Fellowship also remodeled and updated their current facilities.